can, because of how many people in the room, I think there's some interesting items on the agenda perhaps. So people should only be speaking when they're invited to speak, okay? And if anybody doesn't like what somebody else says, don't use that as an excuse for you to have a go at them, all right? So just, if somebody says something you don't like, there's a way to challenge things, but in this meeting it is meant to be a disciplined, purposeful meeting. So welcome to the meeting of the Town Council on Wednesday the 12th of December, our last meeting of the year. It's 6:30 p.m. Welcome to all the councillors. We have got some apologies, but we'll come to those in a moment, and I'd like to acknowledge the fact that we've got 17.
Looks it gone up, is it?
16 members at 17, because Steve came in afterwards. So
no, counting.
Oh right, okay. 16 members of the public here, which is good to see. Where are they the rest of the year, I wonder? And there'll be an opportunity in May for you to join the council. Now, before we go on to any orders of business, what it is that this week there have been some bereavements associated with the county and specifically with the town council. So I'm going to invite those that wish to stand and are able to stand as we acknowledge a moment's silence for a past clerk of the council, Mr. Idris Evans, who passed away. He was over 100 years of age. He was living down in Brighton at the time in a special care facility, ironically enough, people who were blind. The gentleman was blind at the time of his death, but he served the county and the town council for many, many years. So we'll be standing for him and also for Councillor Terry King, whose funeral was today. So I will now stand and invite everybody else to stand, and we'll just observe a moment's silence for him. Okay, thank you very much. If you'd all like to take your seats.
Can I make a statement, Chair? Please.
Yes.
I would like to state that I was shocked at Councillor Brooks' behaviour tonight. I would like to disassociate myself from his remarks during the past week regarding Mr. Idris Evans and Mr. Terry King. These comments have upset a great number of residents in this town. I would like that minuted in full, please. That's why it's written down.
I'd just like to respond, and I will stand for the council. I don't want to go into details, but people did see the email why I didn't stand for Terry King, and if they realise how many emails I received and the fact that they supported Mrs. Lucas in police action against me, I think I sat very respectfully, and you did give us the option, and I think this is unacceptable conduct from Councillor Lucas.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. Thank you, Councillor Lucas. Right, so moving on then to
item as well. She can read my mind.
No, okay, good. Thank you, Councillor.
Yes, that's why I even bothered.
So what we'll do is we'll move on to, thank you everybody, we'll move on to item 1, which is apologies. To receive apologies for...
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we'll move on to apologies for absence. We've got apologies from
Councillor Romney and Councillor
Romney and
Neil.
So take one, Matt. So proposed by Daniel, thank you. All seconded by Peter. All those in favour, show of hands. And that's unanimous. It was Daniel and Peter.
I didn't hear the second name, sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yes. Zoe.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I've just signed the wrong book. Oh, I think we've all signed the wrong book.
I think we're all.
I'm sure you'll sort it out for the end of the meeting.
Is this the one we should do? Oh, right. Oh, sorry.
Good, that means you've all declared an interest. That's the main thing. Declarations of interest then, whilst you're signing the books, members are asked to declare. Has anybody got the interest they want to disclose at this point? Councillor Lucas?
Yes, item number 12, as I'm a member of the Committee of Open and Bloom, It's a non-pecuniary interest and I shall speak and vote.
Speak and vote. Martin.
And yes, I have an interest in item number 8, and it's purely that I live in the road, and despite public comments, I don't object on the basis that that is.
Are you going to be speaking and voting?
I will be speaking and I will be voting.
Brilliant, thank you.
But I have to declare that I live in the road, but I'm
Okay.
not affected in any way by
No,
the development.
it's not pecuniary, I know
No.
that. Anybody else? Joyce, you wanted to move an agenda item.
Oh, yes,
Do you want to do that at this point?
Can I propose that we move agenda item 12 to further up the list so that those representing Oakham
Partnership.
in blue
Okay, blue.
don't have to sit through all these.
Okay, so Councillor Lucas has proposed at this stage that item 12, floral displays, moves after item 8, which is the Rutland Community Trust. So that's the proposal, seconded by Daniel. All those in favour? Unanimous. So we'll discuss the floral displays after 8. Okay, so back to the minutes then. Minutes, funny enough. To confirm the minutes of the meeting held on Wednesday the 10th of October. Anybody got any comments or observations? The only person absent was Daniel, I think, so you won't be able to vote on it, Daniel, you'll have to abstain, yeah? Anybody else got any comments or observations? Looking for a proposer for the minutes? Peter, thank you, seconded by Sally Ann. All those in favour? So that's everybody except Daniel who will be
9-1.
abstaining. Yeah, okay, brilliant, thank you. Is there another set of minutes as well?
It's the, do you want to sign them? Should we do the next set?
Yeah, we'll do the
and
next set
sign
as
them?
well. There's the minutes from the
Extraordinary meeting.
extraordinary meeting on the 19th of November.
Oh, actually, no, we can't because there was a, sorry.
Yeah, I did wonder.
Oh,
that.
no. Yeah, sorry. I
We're
think
doing
we
it?
sign them. Yeah, no, we could have waited, but no. It was the abstentions. We sign the first lot.
I'm signing this, am I?
Yeah.
Is this the one that we just voted on?
Voted on, yeah.
I thought we was going for the... Oh, okay. So are we accepting the minutes from the
Yeah.
19th of November then?
And there's 3 abstentions. Jean, Joyce and Peter.
Sally, do you want to comment on it? Or you...
No.
Oh, you're proposing it, are you? So there'll be abstentions from Jean, Peter and
Joyce.
George, yeah? Right, anybody got any comments or observations on the...
What's that one that's stuck in the middle? 12th of the 5th. Oh, is that, it's in the wrong order, I think.
Oh, you dropped yours, didn't you?
No, the post people dropped it.
That's what I meant.
Yes.
Is that the 12th of December?
Yes.
That's today.
Right. So it's A1 then I'm looking at.
Yes,
yeah,
please.
yeah.
Yes, I was there to help her.
Yeah, okay, so well, it's been proposed by Sally Ann, seconded by, I've got Anne now. All those in favour then, with the exception of those that are abstaining. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in favour. Abstentions will be 3, that's right, isn't it? 9 of us? No, it's not 10.
It's 10. I think, did you count Martin's vote?
Yes. I thought we did, yeah. Well, anyway, so it's... show of hands again, all in favour again? Sorry, I can't count.
Some of these people weren't here.
I should have gone to school. Judy,
I wasn't there.
you went here. Peter. I can't count. You count.
Daniel,
Was he here?
are you... No, Daniel was
you're
here.
only-
Daniel was here.
I could have sworn I was. But
No, you weren't here for
This
the
is-
first one. We're doing the
Right,
second
okay.
one now.
This is the second one. Right, easily missing one.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Are you here today? Not this time. You'll take care of my comments.
So that's carried then. Do you want to sign them?
Yes,
There was
please.
only 7 here.
Second.
7.
Yeah.
7 people, yeah.
Right, well done. Right, chairman's and members' reports. Now, I've only got a verbal report to do. What it is that I just wanted to report back that I went to Germany, to Barmstead, just do that for the camera. What it is, I went there as what was meant to just be a quick visit for Julie and myself to sort of do a bit of, looking around, I guess. And it became a twinning event with the Barmstead Council and their mayor and all the rest of it. And they gave me this mug, so this is mine, okay, just point that out now. They gave me, I'm officially a member of the Barmstead Club, whatever that is. And also they gave us this collage of pictures from Barnstead to bring back to the council, which will go probably either in here or in the office or somewhere. So, say again? No, it's not. Anyway, get out. Right, no. So anyway, just wanted to report it was very well worthwhile, and the German people in Barnstead very friendly, very welcoming. It was a very good event. There were 6 of us that went, and they're very keen to reinvigorate the twinning. So anybody in the room that might be interested in that, speak to myself, I guess, or there is also a twinning committee. Half of it's in the room, actually, isn't it, Angie? Yeah. Angie Francis came as well, so it was a great event. So, right. Anyway.
Sorry.
Other reports, I think. We've got. We got Peter's going to be doing one.
Thank you. Yes, I attended the Dementia Services group yesterday morning. The mayor volunteered me for it, I don't know why, but no, it was very interesting, and there's a lot happening in Rutland. I think we're very much to the forefront, which is good. There's a dementia health team. There's Admiral Nurses, which is a new government initiative, and they can be accessed from Rutland County Council main desk. They're running a lot of schemes. There's day centres, various activities which not only help the individuals but help the carers. It gives them some respite. So I think it's pretty good news. It's developing. We're going to have another nurse next month, and I've given the clerk the full pack, but I've just passed round this one, which is produced by Age Concern, which encapsulates the whole thing. Because it's not just one or two.
Is it worth leaving it on the table so you can pass it round? I mean, I'd hate for anybody to be distracted.
And just very quickly, Parish Council Forum, 3 of us attended that. Very good agenda. We learned quite a lot. We had the transport plan, so we can add to the meeting today. Good. I've since seen the portfolio holder as well and had a chat with her. And a couple of us were at the funeral today as well. So, thank you.
Brilliant, thank you. Of course.
Just to say, I went to the parish forum meeting, and after 22 years on this council, I learned a lot about all sorts of things. But I like the integrated transport scheme, Discover Rutland. And when I said that there was more to Rutland than Rutland Water, it did cause a bit of a stir. However, we should be using Discover Rutland for anything that we're doing, because the very next day, Discover Rutland have got the jigsaw puzzle on for Rutland. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. The next item is councillors' questions. Any questions notified to the clerk?
No.
I saw your email, Martin, where you were going to be reading out a statement at one of the agenda items.
Really
well, no, yeah, but you've got your notes captured.
Waffling on.
No, that's fine. Okay, yeah, that's fine. So there's no questions notified to the clerk. So have we got a report from the clerk?
I haven't, but all I want to say is it's not really a nice thing to talk about. We've not had Christmas yet, but just to let everybody know, the lights will be coming down on the 10th and the 14th of January.
That's all right. That's not so bad. That's cool.
Don't come into town on that.
Yeah, or maybe, yeah, don't. Yeah. What days of the week is that? Doesn't matter. Okay, right, item 7, this point here is deputations by the public. Now there's a lot of public, and obviously I imagine that some of you are here because you'd like to say something. If you'd like to say something, then you are limited to 3 minutes. Oh no, that's why I've got my little stopwatch on today, to make sure that we don't run over. If you do want to speak, let us know now, and also which item you want to speak about on the agenda. So is anybody who wants to make a comment? So Chris, good evening.
Good evening. I'd like to speak on item
12, floral displays.
12 now. Yeah.
Yes, it is still 12, but I know what you mean.
That's good. Thank you.
Chris, could you stand up so we can see you?
If you prefer to sit, then you can sit.
Now.
So, oh yeah, yes, you're allowed to talk now. Yeah, you talk now.
We've not done item 8 yet.
No, but this is the deputation's point. This is when the public can speak.
We listen to you now.
Yeah,
I do beg your pardon.
that's all right. And if it's difficult to stand, then you can sit.
Oh no, I prefer to stand.
Okay.
No, you haven't.
Push the chair table a bit more because it's not the room. I've got a wheelchair with them.
All right. Want to push your chair? Sally Ann, do you want to push forward a bit more? And then that way the door can then be propped open. All right. Yeah, that's cool. That's good. No. Right, well done. Well done, everybody.
Passing a bottle of water, please.
Chris, over to you.
I've got little spoons.
Come over there.
Sorry. Thank you. There you go. Okay. Do you want to? No, you're all right.
Right, Chris.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris Morton and I'm the chairman of Oakham Group. These are some comments to the Town Council about the floral displays for 2019. We are pleased to see that the Council seems to realise the value of floral displays in achieving its aim of promoting the town as an attractive place to visit and stay, and hope that this will continue. We understand your concerns about the standard of the current contractor, but would like to offer some comments on your proposed options. We are worried that options 2, 3 and 4 will be very tight for timing of displays in summer 2019, especially option 4, which would effectively make it impossible. Even if the new council made it their first job, May is too late for any plant supplier to be able to provide anything but the leftovers, and we cannot believe that this would be acceptable. We would therefore like to respectfully offer a fifth option for your consideration, namely that the contract for floral displays be given for 1 year only to Plantscape, during which time a full survey can be conducted to see what works or does not, and where savings could be made or money better spent. Following this, that a new specification be drawn up and put out to tender in autumn 2019 for implementation in 2020 onwards. Implementation. It may also be worth waiting to see what, if any, new developments come out of the town regeneration plans that are about to go before County Council, as this may have a bearing on the siting of any floral displays. If you feel that Oakham's in Bloom's input at any stage would be helpful, we stand ready and willing to assist. We all have the same aim of enhancing the town and do not feel that there should be any conflict between us. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Anybody else from Oakham in Blue wanted to say anything? That was the open. Right, okay, so any other members of the public? On response to that, we've got Rutland House Community Trust representatives here, so if anybody from the group want to make a statement or comment, looking for anything? Yep.
Nice big bathrooms and big rooms.
Right, yeah. That was nice big bathrooms and rooms, wasn't it, or something? Yeah. Right, okay.
My name's Sian Cheverton. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
I'm speaking as a trustee of the Rutland House Community Trust and an Oakham resident and as a local GP, chairman and members of the Town Council. Not all of us are lucky enough to have our own home and to care for ourselves. In 1995, founder members of the Rutland House Community Trust, with the support of Oakham Town Council, opened Willowbrook to help one disadvantaged group. This house gives those with severe learning difficulties a home, a place where they can receive the care they need. They're supported in making choices for their own lives, try new things and be near their families, to have lives worth living. Over the past 23 years, standards have risen, and Willowbrook, though providing a very good service, is not able to provide what today's residents need and expect. They need bigger rooms, ensuite facilities and more social space. New residents and their families are now having to make a choice of either having good up-to-date living conditions or staying near their families. In addition, we've got new needs, which are supported by social services. Although living in one's own home with carers is ideal, not everyone has the support and finance to manage this. There is a need for individual units for those who have less severe disabilities to live with support, and also for emergency accommodation for those whose lives are in crisis. The plan we have presented of a new build and then refitting the old Willowbrook building fills both these needs with a minimum of disturbance to current residents. We have used the expertise of an excellent local architect who has made the best use she can of the room available and proposed a well-planned and pleasant building with good green credentials. Rutland County Council have given us planning permission. We have talked to our neighbours and recognised their concerns and will try to minimise the inconvenience to them. Members of the Council, this is not the only difficult vote taking place tonight. Like the issues in Westminster, it's complex, and perhaps there is no one ideal solution for everybody, and some compromise is necessary. By approving our proposal, however, you will be improving the well-being of those with severe learning disabilities in our community. Please could you show the same vision and support as your predecessors did over 20 years ago.
Thank you, Dr. Chowton. Anybody else specifically from Rutland House Community Trust? No? No, so we've got, yes, James. Yeah. James represents the residents.
Residents of Clesholm Close.
Yeah. So also speaking on item 8 then, the Rutland House Community Trust.
That's correct, yes.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
Mr Chairman, Councillor, so thank you very much for the opportunity to address you again. It seems to me it's becoming in danger of being a regular thing, me standing here talking. We are representing the residents of Clesholm Close, which is to the south of the proposed new build. And we have a suggestion to make. First and foremost, I'd like to say, I'd like to reaffirm that the residents of Clesholm Close are actually in favour of Rutland House Community Trusts expanding their care provision. We see this as a good local thing to do, and we see it as a necessary thing. So let me repeat that. We have no problem with Rutland House Community Trust expanding their provision in the best way. Now, in the last month, we've heard several arguments and rebuttals concerning the development. But it's my understanding that it's now for the Town Council to approve, as landlord and custodian of the public land, whether you want to back the existing plan or whether you'll see that there is actually a better way. We've got an opportunity here to get this right, and what we think is that the current plan could be changed to maximise the benefit and amenity to the residents of the Willowbrook development. Let me cut to the chase here. The current plan places the most amenity of the site to the rear of the building. That is the side that the residents have least access to. So the day areas, which are the sitting areas and the dining areas, are actually, of the new proposed development, are actually on the side that affords the least amenity. From the plans that we've seen, the plans that were lodged with the council and the plans that gained planning permission, it's easy to see that actually by moving the main residential block to the north of the plot and connecting the day area in the same way as the existing building, you will maximise the amenity to the residents, particularly during the waking hours. The block to this happening is, as we all know, or as anyone who's read the pack knows, is the sewer. And that's the only technical objection of any substance that's been offered so far. But in the same way as the current building overcomes this hurdle, well, it's more of a sewer than a hurdle, but there's no reason that similar techniques of construction could not be employed in the proposed new build. Okay. We've actually done some research with Severn Trent, and I'd like to hand over to Les to speak for just a minute, if that's okay.
Well, you've used 2 minutes 45 of your time.
My comment really is we'll probably hear that it can't be done. But if you look at Severn Trent's details, it can be done. Severn Trent say, where risk to public sewer is small, we are normally willing to allow building over or close to sewers. So what can be done is exactly what has been done in the existing building, a passageway between the two parts which doesn't have great foundations and can go over the sewer. It will require, and I would hope that you would think about this and say, we would like to approach Severn Trent to ask for their view over this possibility to develop the site to a far better use for the clients. Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody else in the room want to make any comments on this at this stage? I'm not planning on inviting members of the public to come back when we discuss this point. So we'll consider then that the public participation.
Chairman, just one thing I forgot. There is a process Severn Trent do, and this is the application for building over or close to a sewer. So it's a detailed process that they have.
Okay. Thank you. So I'd like to thank Dr. Shepton from the trust and James and Les from the residents group for taking the time to stand up and talk to us and explain these things. Before we actually move on to the item 8, I just want to clarify something. Everybody that has read or had access to the pack, the second point on one of the pages does state, can the building be moved? The answer that was categorically stated at the time was no. Now, interestingly there, that yes, okay, so Severn Trent have said that there are certain ways that you can do things, but there was a specific way that the question was put to the Rutland House Community Trust where they were bringing this plan, this is the plan they want to go with, and the decision that needs to be made tonight by the council is based on that plan. There might be financial reasons why they don't want to move it or whatever they are, but the thing is, the working group that was set up by this council at the previous meeting, of which that working group met twice, it is regrettable at this stage that Severn Trent document wasn't produced during the working group, because that would have been included in the pack and would have had maybe an impact and maybe not. So whereas I appreciate always new information, it would have been better if it had been forthcoming in the working group, but at least everybody in the room has now heard that, and the two groups have had an opportunity to speak. Every councillor has had an opportunity to read these packs and the information that's been sent out to you. So if I look at this agenda item now, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to invoke standing order number 6 on rules of debate, item section 1, where I'm actually going to propose and ask for a seconder on only part 1 of this, decisions that the council agreed to the development under the current plan that was agreed by Rutland County Council, because that is what we're here to debate, to decide, or not to debate, or debate and decide. So from the chair, I'm proposing that the council agree to the development and grant permission as per the RCC planning application submitted by Rutland House Community Trust. All I need is a seconder for that, then that opens up the floor for debate by the councillors. So the council will still debate and they can still refuse it. But I don't want to debate for an hour and then find that we're not going to get anywhere. So the proposal on the table is the council agreed to the development as per the current plan. So that's my proposal. Do I have a seconder for that? Are you seconding that, Martin?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. So a show of hands to support that. Then 1, 2, 3. Oh, you count again, because I'm terrible at counting.
9, so just...
9, and you're abstaining? Abstaining, right, okay. So that now means I now open the floor up to the rest of the councillors only. I'm going to stick to the rule book strictly here as well, that you'll have only one opportunity to speak for 3 minutes, unless there is a point of order that comes up. and if there's a point of order, you tell me what the point of order is. Don't say point of order as an excuse to stop the meeting. So every councillor has an opportunity to speak, and at the end of that, we'll then have a vote to see whether we're actually going to approve this or not formally. So, right, Martin.
As a resident in the area and the Oakham South East Ward councillor, I'd firstly like to say that I strongly object to this council excluding me from a working group which was quite a major issue which affects people within my ward. I've listened this evening to the residents and I now have a different opinion from what was going on, but it would be nice to have been shared that information. I've had a sensible response or a deputation from a doctor attached to the trust. But I will then move on. I strongly object to unprofessional comments and lies made by Rutland Community Trust employees on social media about me. I have raised this concern with the chairman of the trustees today, and I've also checked before the meeting with the clerk. There has been no correspondence aimed at me to engage me or educate me on this matter, as has been stated on social media today. I note in the report that Councillor Adam Lowe has asked us to read all the documents and send questions to the clerk before the meeting. I welcome this change, as I have many examples from the past where he has objected to this, stating nothing should be discussed or questioned outside of a meeting. In his list of required decisions, he wants the council to review the land rent and variations of the lease. We cannot do this before we have received a valuation for the land. Moving on, we have been provided with a number of photographs in this pack. A lot that's irrelevant tonight, but we like to produce paper at this council. Anyway, and looking at the picture which has been provided, there's a photograph with plans, and I'm sure it's an error, but it looks like it's encroaching the new building onto two existing allotments which you don't lease. But that needs to be looked into. And that is also a concern to me about the thing and where the trust should have come to the council, and this should have been negotiated with residents and the council before this evening, so we all know what's going on. And that, because I have a fear, which I will come to later in here, that the fact that that is built right up to allotments, we are going to have the same issue of why they acquired the land in the first place, the second piece, which was to give privacy and peace and enjoyment to the residents, which they're not going to get with two allotments by their windows. So I'm trying to be quick.
You carry on.
I rush out and run out of breath, but anyway, I've slightly gone off there. But anyway, that's in looking at document B11E. The land was leased for the enjoyment of the residents and staff. Now the trust is proposing to build on that land. Are they going to apply to the council for additional allotment spaces so that enjoyment can continue? That was my only question, which wasn't answered before the meeting. Never mind. On point G, it says ground rate reviewed by solicitor once all decisions are made and agreed. So that's the contradiction. We're being asked to do that tonight, but we're also being told that it will be done later. But it's not the responsibility of the solicitor to make those decisions. That's the decision of this council. And it's our responsibility to review rents, not a solicitor's. Point 1, as we go from letters to numbers, it says it's within the boundary of the agreed lease. I've already pointed out the photo of the plan which would suggest that this is not within the boundary, but that could be a mistake.
Martin, we're slightly over 3 minutes.
Yeah, can I finish?
Yeah.
I think it's important.
Yes, take on.
Point 8 is wrong to conclude that the development is within the existing development, as this is to be built on a separate garden space. It's not within the existing development. They have two separate leases. And then we've got B3, delegated report from RCC. And I'm pleased now that I'm able to read that there will be 2 extra staff. The report also highlights what are not planning issues, such as various types of noise. Then it goes on to say the occupiers are vulnerable adults in care and unlikely to roam into the watercourse. Is there any guarantee that this won't happen? The report goes on to say open spaces do not form part of the allotments or playing fields. But that's wrong, because it did form part of the allotments before the council issued the lease to the trust to turn it into a garden for the enjoyment of residents and staff.
You're over 4 minutes now, Martin.
Okay, I'm not going to try, but I think it's important I finish.
Okay.
I haven't had any other opportunities.
Go on.
There is mention of the parking. I think, bearing in mind the comments in other reports, we have this is a very important comment. The planning officer says there is adequate parking facility to cater for the proposed new building, even without the proposed 8 new spaces. If the planning officer is correct, then I propose the council does not grant permission for these additional 8 spaces, and some of the green area is retained. The planning officer incorrectly describes Willow Crescent as Willow Close and is not subject to through traffic. This is very wrong. The road is the main route for the Oakham Hopper bus service. It is a route for many lorries and vans which deliver to Costcutter Shop and catering supplies to the school. Many are also aware of the school run traffic. And then we move on to report BIV from the trust.
Right, Councillor Martin, sorry, 5 minutes 30 now. You're nearly double the amount of time that you should have been allowed.
I appreciate that, but that's the last paragraph, as you would have seen it.
Right, if you can do it in 20 seconds, you can read it.
Yeah, I'm trying to be quick. I'm pleased the trust is to sort the noise from the radio for local residents. As stated, when I referred to the planning report, I think the council should not permit the new car park. If it does not agree with me, then I request they consider no lighting, as there is far too much light pollution in the town, and recent national reports have highlighted the damaging effect on the environment and the wildlife caused by new white LED streetlights. I know the trust has apologised for the breach of its lease and is happy that the council is normally willing to, sorry, I did that wrong, at least because we are working backwards, that's what I'm trying to say, is that I notice that as a council we're now working backwards, but perhaps the trust would like to apologise for its unprofessional conduct towards objectors and lack of consultation with neighbours, and I'm talking about the original lack, because they said tonight they seem to be happy. Finally, I would have loved to have been included in all aspects of this project that is aiming to provide accommodation for what is described as vulnerable people. And I'd like to say publicly, despite the comments that are on social media from staff and supporters, I have no objection to what the Trust is doing or aiming to achieve.
Right, thank you, Martin. That was just over 7 minutes. That's all right. And I know that you have no objection because in theory you've seconded the motion anyway.
Yes.
So I already see that you're in favour of it. Does any other members of the council want to...
I think we need to work together and work on...
Thank you, Martin. I know what we're going to do.
What everyone wants.
So, yes, does any other members of the council want to say something? I'm meant to be going around the table actually, but there's not many people who speak, so I'll come to Anne.
I have visited Willowbrook, and anybody on the council was invited to go there to look round, so there was nothing to stop that at all. Also, there was just one question, because it was brought up by the public today, about this being able to build over the sewer like it is in the existing building. And if we were told they couldn't alter it, well, it seems now that it could be altered. So that's why what was the reason why they couldn't alter it before, please? That's all I want to know.
I will answer that question.
Thank you.
I think in actual fact it gets back to the comment that the Willowbrook architect came up with the design, and this is what I've gleaned from the meetings that we'd had, and this was the design they presented. They are working on a shoestring budget, and their plan is to go forward with the design they've got. So it's not that they've not misled anybody, it's not that they could, would or should, it's just that they said this is the plan we want to go with. That is as simple as that, and that's why I said at the beginning that I proposed that we go with what the county council had proposed. So most things can be done if you put your mind to it, but they may also incur additional costs. Okay, and because I've already said I'm not going to invite anybody else now to speak back, all I'm doing there is what I gleaned from the meeting is that the question's asked, would Rutland House Community Trust consider moving the building, opening the building up a bit, doing similar things? I think it was Joy that brought it up in actual fact, and it came up twice. Would the RHCT consider moving it away a bit, or doing it slightly differently, or moving it completely up that way away from the hedgerow? And it was a categoric, really, not really, no, this is the plan that we've come with, it's the plan that RCC have passed. It's already cost a lot of money, I think, to get to that point, so it's a no. So that's why we're
That's
talking.
why I'm still.
Yeah, no, that's fine, that's okay. Peter, I think. Yeah?
No, I can wait.
Right, okay, thank you.
Half up.
Don't stop him now.
Yes,
And then it'll be Daniel afterwards, and then Joy after that. So, right, Peter.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Yes, I've also visited the site, so well acquainted with the layout and everything. We've heard from the trustee very eloquently the need, and I think as a town council we should show leadership and support this. Obviously there are issues still to be resolved, but I think tonight we should support it in principle. The devil will be in the detail, but it's not beyond the wit of man to sort this out. There will be legal requirements and so forth, but I don't think we want to keep this going round and round. We really want to bring it to a head, so I shall be supporting. Thank you.
Okay. 40 seconds, in case anybody wanted to. Daniel, see if we can beat that? No, go on, as long as you need. Well, ideally no more than 3 minutes.
Brilliant, okay. For anyone who thinks I haven't been sort of taking notice of this because I've tried to stay away from it, the reason why I've not been around to visit is because being in the military, you tend to have people coming around your accommodation quite a lot, especially when you're trying to get funding for them to fix the heating. I never appreciated that when it came around to my room, so I've tried to respect the privacy of everyone involved. That being said, I am in support of this. The only questions I have got, and starting to delve into the realms of nif-naf and trivia here, we have seen pictures of sort of these surrounding areas. Some of it is looking very tatty, and not just that, but there was furniture thrown to one side. My worry there is that given more space and more building material, where is this going to be going? So I would expect anything that is passed to be followed through to completion and the grounds actually put back, which is, I'd say, was fair enough. Reference what Councillor Brooks was saying about assessing the actual the rent itself. I don't see this as something we should be trying to milk. If there's enough that we're getting from it, as in for the county, for the actual public purse, then fair enough. We shouldn't be out to make money on this. But I would expect that saving is then put back in to the actual establishment itself. I think that's only fair. If that's possible, I don't know, I would like to see some further sort of information on that. Otherwise it just seems like you're lying in someone else's pockets, and that really irritates me. Here's the other one. I did notice in there, it said that the trees, the screening hadn't actually been agreed fully with the residents, but was a work in progress. That to me doesn't sit right, because that's the sort of thing where, just playing devil's advocate, I'm sort of, okay then, this is something we could probably do as a written agreement, brilliant. If it's a verbal agreement, it's not worth the paper it's written on. So I would expect that to be squared away beforehand. Apart from that, I'll say it's an absolutely wonderful institution. I'm very proud of this in this council. I think you'll do a wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Joy. Thank you, Joy.
I can answer your question on the rent. There is a regulation about it. It was, let me see, what's it say? Just 1 second.
Clock's running anyway, so
How
take as long as you
long
need.
1 minute.
There's a regulation that says that we are from the Secretary of State that says we have to we request market values because we are representing the town.
That's what I've been saying all along, and then I get
Thank
told
you.
we have to do it.
Joy.
This is an emotive issue because it is a good facility, and I am in favour of the work that it does and would like to see something go forward. However, I do have reservations. I'm aware that the existing building is not up to standard, but we are not discussing an existing building at the moment because that could be and could have been at any time renovated and updated. It doesn't affect the new build. The land was leased as amenity land for the residents of Willowbrook. We noted when we went to visit that there was goalposts out there on the grass and they have a greenhouse. And it seems reasonable to expect that any further development should be designed to retain recreational amenity land for the residents. There will be an increased number of residents on the site, and from the remodelling of the older building with bedrooms and sitting rooms and what the doctor here has said, we will have more active people there who will also presumably be needing some outside space. The current plans with the parking and the new build leave a very small amount of level available amenity space for the residents, and all of that space is in the shadow of the hedge because the sun is on the other side. So it doesn't look to me to be keeping the spirit of the reason the land was given in the first place. I'm also concerned that the siting of the building and the direction of the sun and the hedge will leave a less than satisfactory amount of quality of life for the people living in the buildings. And this does concern me. We as a town council are being asked to agree a building, and I feel it is not the best building that we could produce. But this is the building that we're being offered. Before I joined the town council, I was here as a member of the public when the planning application for this new build came through the council. And the council discussed it at length and unanimously rejected it. Concerns have been raised through the working party. We've had 2 meetings and we've talked through various concerns that the residents have had, that the council has, and we have discussed it, but there has been no alteration to the original plans, there has been no compromise, there's been no meeting halfway. I personally would welcome further talks in the future for a more acceptable plan to fit the space that would allow for more amenity land and would provide a better facility.
Oh, brilliant, thank you.
Oh, do you want to go first?
Yes, Jean. Let's have Jean.
I don't have a lot to say. I joined the council in Oakham because I believed that as a councillor I could make a difference in situations like this to help people. That's my stance in life, to try and help people. I have been involved with vulnerable people most of my life, and I understand totally why the amenity is required. Personally, I support it 100%. I can see the need in the present accommodation to be modernised, to give people a better standard to live in. I also feel for the parents who, as they grow older with children with learning difficulties, worry about where their children will go. They don't want them to go out of area, and they want good accommodation. I want to support it, I do support it. I would feel very failed if Rutland doesn't grab this opportunity to make a difference to people who need it. And I'm sorry to be emotional, but where people have a need, I want to be able to give that, and that's why I became a councillor. If the council rejects it and doesn't support it, then I may decide not to continue, because it isn't what I'm about. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, James.
I didn't have my full 3 minutes, Mr. Mayor. Can I have my extra time now, please?
You had an opportunity to speak.
Yeah, but I've got more.
Let me finish, please. You had an opportunity to speak. However, because I'm such an understanding, and this is a very serious matter, I'm more than prepared to let you finish off.
Thank you.
10 seconds.
I would like to reiterate what Jean said, and I'm totally in favour. And can I just say, we were asked to vote if we wanted to work on the present things, the present plans. I was the only one who abstained until we had this discussion.
We're going to come back to the vote in a minute.
Well, no, I'm sorry, but people have all voted except me to just go on the plans that are set. So that's why I can't understand that the questions have been asked now. Thank you.
Okay, that's right. Right, you've already spoken.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a proposal with an amendment.
Well, you want to.
Yes, because I don't think we should be voting to accept the planning application as submitted. I would like to say, yes, the building's fine, but I would also like to add the point less the car park, because the planning officer has said, and it has been raised by other members, that they need the green space. The report is very clear that we have here from the planning officer that they don't need the new car park with the 8 spaces.
Who said that?
The planning officer. If you're not ready, we told us to read it.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, but you know, it's in black and white.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Brooks, I'm going to stop you there for a minute, since you're now insulting the chairman of the town council. Because have you also noticed, thank you, have you noticed in the plan then that the Rutland House Community Trust actually submitted an additional plan showing a reduction on car parking spaces?
By 1.
Yeah.
2.
By 1.
Sorry.
By 1. So I have noticed, but I'm saying that that's irrelevant, the 1 space. I would like to make a proposal and the council can decide.
What, remove both of those car parking spaces?
No, the council agreed to the development and grant permission for the building as per the RCC planning application submitted by the RHCT, but we do not grant permission for the car park.
But you voted for that.
No, we haven't.
No, sorry, we're going to get back to
We're allowed to make amendments.
Yeah, this is
a very clear amendment, and it keeps the green space. Which 8 spaces is it makes a big difference.
So you mean like, so on the map, there's, at the back here, there's these 2 bits here?
Yeah. So that can be used as a garden.
Are you saying all of that there should come out?
Yes.
All the parking, yes.
There's a lovely hedge.
Thank you, councillors.
All the 8 parking spaces are not needed. It quite clearly says in the Rutland Council report that they don't need it.
Right, here's what I'm going to do, is that I
gave a proposal with my amendment.
Right, okay, so does anybody want to second that amendment, by the way?
Do we second it? Yes.
Bear in mind that Rutland House Community Trust might not want to do that, of course, but one of you wants to
we're the
second.
landlord and we
Right, hang on a minute. Councillor Brooks, thank you.
You seconded it.
Councillor Brooks says that it is without so they can do the building, but to actually review how the parking is at the back and actually not do all that parking there. Yeah? So that's an amendment to the proposal that's on the paper which I've got turned over here. So that would be item 8, the first bit. Council agreed to development and grant permission as per the RCC planning application submitted by RHCT, but minus this car parking section at the back.
All of them.
All
of that section there, right? Okay, that's a proposed. You've all those in favour of that amendment. Show of hands, please. 1, 2, 3, 4. All those against. 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be, and all those abstaining. There's going to be some abstainers in there too. So in theory, we have a proposal on the table now, which we're allowing them to build the building, but without this, that means they'll have to rethink how they're going to do their car parking. Right, that's the proposal.
Hang on, 4, 5, 6, 7.
You got more?
4, 5, 6, 7. And how many abstentions?
2.
2. So we're missing 8, 9, 10. So can we have the vote again, please?
Yeah, all those in favour was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5, that's it, right.
Oh, that's right, you got it. Right, okay. So, right, let's. We're now going to vote. Well, in actual fact, in theory, that means that's gone through. In effect, the council has now agreed to the development to go ahead, and obviously minus that car parking section. Okay. Did everybody? Yeah.
Thank you.
That's what's. That's.
You've only agreed on the amendment.
Oh right, all right, okay. Oh, sorry. Let's have a full show of hands now for actually having that application go through then.
Which one?
The one that you just.
Oh right.
Yeah. So everyone show of hands. So Martin should have his hand up. Sally and Daniel. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 6. Let's go for it. 6. Yeah. All those against. All those abstaining.
Oh, against.
3. Anyway, it's still.
4.
Well, is
4.
that,
Sitting against, I think.
6. And all those 4. Put your hands up. 1, 2, 3, 4.
6.
1, 2, 3. 6. All those against? 1. All those abstaining? 3. So in effect at the moment what we've agreed then is that RHCT planning permission is granted. By the way, I just wanted to answer a couple of questions that came up there, but I obviously didn't need to. The land encroaching onto allotments, no, there's not, by the way. That was just because we were trying to mackle up something so we got an understanding. There's not an automatic right for the community trust to go and purchase land in the future. The council would have that decision. Yes, screening of some sort has been agreed with the residents, and we did say that it would be built into the lease that a screening has to be appropriate, and that the untidy expectation that you raised, the Rutland House Community Trust are already more than aware of that and doing all they can. And when it came to the rent bit, on item 8, the next section down, it goes, right, so council on behalf of the residents asked Rutland House Community Trust, so we need to make 3 more decisions here. Council on behalf of the residents asked Rutland House Community Trust to take into consideration their concerns and ensure a suitable screen of trees. This would be incorporated into their lease and will be managed in the responsibility of Rutland House Community Trust. So that is a proposal. So I would propose that from the chair. You seconded it, Martin? Yeah. All those in favour of that? Is that everybody's hands up? Yes, that's unanimous. The item 8, the third bit down, the council review the land rent with Rutland House Community Trust and any variation to the lease. So we don't do that as councillors, that's not our job. So Joy was correct that we have to make sure we get good value for land or for the rent. So now that we've agreed to this, is that it's now we empower the clerk to go off and work with a land agent and Rutland House Community Trust and reevaluate what the rent should be. Okay? Are you proposing, Martin?
I think it would be better if the 2 proposals are put together in a better way than
what you mean wording. 3 and 4?
Because I think I'd like to see the working group continue so that the lease is done properly in consultation with the council and the residents, and then we don't have issues further down the line. So we need to also obviously grant the permission for the clerk to instruct the solicitor once those things are come, because solicitors are going to cost a lot of money and the trust will have to pay part of that, so we need to minimise the costs. Well, we can dispute that, but anyway.
It's in the lease. We've already agreed to that.
Okay,
can't dispute that.
But we need to be in a situation where we go to the solicitor and say, this is what we've agreed.
Yeah, well, I get the idea.
To the solicitor, you sort it, because they'll be great to do it and it will cost a fortune. So this is the opportunity we have now to work together properly to iron out.
When mine's finished, you can go.
Issues. So that's my proposal.
I'm going to see what Joy says first. Right.
I just found it, the Secretary of State's approval for the lease of the land makes it clear that the Town Council is obliged to ensure it continues to receive a market rental.
We don't receive that from any of our properties.
Right, okay, that's irrelevant here. Right, Martin, thank you. Let's stop going on. So you're saying then that you want the rent, the land rent and the land valuation, all that bit there, all to be coupled together, where the lease is looked at by a working group.
Yeah, because they've got to source an independent valuer. We can't ask a solicitor to do that. Solicitor doesn't do that.
Right, Martin's put a proposal on the table that we have the working group continues to look at how the lease works.
And he did 2 things.
Yeah, land valuation, the rent, and managing the lease on how it's written, and all the bits that's included in it. Daniel.
Sorry, I do worry that might be seen as a bit of some micromanagement of their project.
No, because we're the
thank you. No, you don't have a debate here.
Just missing the point.
Right. Does anybody want? Right. Stop, everybody. Anybody want to second Martin's proposal?
I think we need it laid out neatly so people understand.
Are you seconding it? Right. It's been seconded by Joy. All those in favour of Martin's proposal that the working group continue to work with the lease and the land review, basically. Yeah. All at show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8 in favour then. All those against? 1. And abstentions? 1.
Chairman, can I just ask then that the council puts me on it, because obviously Anne's just voted against it and she's on the working group.
Thank you very much, everybody. So we now seem to be having the need for a... Now the working group had been set up before. The working group is a fine bunch of people, as I recall. I'm not saying that I would necessarily want to continue. So who should be on? Who wants to be on that working group? Now, at the moment, before we take any names, it's got Jean. Jean, would you want to stay on it?
I would like to.
It's got Joy. Joy, do you want to stay on it?
Yes, happy to.
Who else was on it?
Me.
Anne. How can I forget? Do you want to stay on it, Anne?
I do, yes, please.
And Lo was on it as well. Would the working group want to? Would the working group on this particular working group? Would you also want it to have representatives from the residents and from the Rutland House Community Trust? Bear in mind that it would be a confidential. We have, but would you want it to continue?
Well, then obviously, if they're confidential parts, we wouldn't, as a council, you wouldn't invite people who weren't entitled to that information. But I think they should form part of the invite.
So they should be given some input.
As we're going to be discussing.
We'll leave them on it then. In that case, would James, would you be happy to stay on that?
I think it should be a council working group.
No.
Only.
Yes.
No.
No, but no, it is to decide the
Right,
list.
thank you everybody for having the conversations around it.
Sorry.
Right, what I would suggest is that the working group is set up as councillors and the clerk, and that they do take input from the residents and Rutland House Community Trust. And because of the confidential nature of what we discussed, because it is a lease, that they won't be able to view the documents, but they can certainly give their input, and we've had that already. Does that sound reasonable, James?
Yes.
To check, yeah. And does that sound also, Sally, is that all right with, do you think, with Rutland House Community Trust? Yeah. So now at the moment we've got Jean, Joy, Anne and Loie. Now Martin wants to join this. So Martin, are you proposing that you join this working group?
Yes, please.
So Martin has proposed himself. Can I have a seconder for Martin? They're all out, should I? We're going to take Sally Ann. So we've got proposed by Martin, seconded by Sally Ann. All those in favour of Martin, show of hands, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 in favour. All those against, show of hands. 1. All those abstaining will be the remainder. So that means that the working group consists of Jean, Joy, Martin, Anne and Adam. Yeah?
With the clerk.
No, that's right, because you can do it with the age of doing it, it won't make any impact. And obviously the clerk will be on it as well.
Yeah.
Right. That's that
Well, we
one
got
out
the
of
last
the way.
proposal.
Oh.
which is-
No, no, you can move. You don't have to hang. If you want to go, you can do that. Well, the last bit was all about council grants permission associated expenditure to the clerk, instructor, solicitor. Should we do that?
No,
Yeah.
I thought Martin said 3 and 4 were together.
You said 3 and 4 together, so
Yeah, if we can get, I don't know if
you want to cross some T's and dot some I's.
Yeah.
So a proposal from
Then it
Martin.
doesn't have to come back to council once.
Yeah. Is there any figure you want to put on this?
No, it's fine, it's just to make sure.
Okay,
that
Martin has proposed that the council grant permission for any associated expenditure enables the clerk to instruct a solicitor to help agree a land valuation.
Well, I think,
No, I'm not-
I
I'm
think we
asking a
need to
question.
take off instructing the solicitor, because it's not really a solicitor's job to get.
All right, well instruct somebody.
So it's just the expenditure for the
Yeah, I've got
clerk
it.
to instruct the
Right.
solicitor on things needed.
With the word within.
No, it says instruct a solicitor and to arrange.
A land
Because we will
valuation.
need a
Alright,
solicitor,
so
Martin.
Right, Anne wants to ask a question.
Because of the cost of all this. I'm sorry. I just think it should be the group, the subcommittee, and asking for what the land register man say that at this stage. I don't think we need to consider this. I'm worried about the price.
Well, we can find that out.
The tenant
We'll-
wants to.
We'll need a solicitor for the lease, I'm
Stop.
afraid, Anne.
And they should pay 100% as a commercial thing.
Thank
but
you.
For some reason,
Councillor
we
Brooks,
only
thank you.
50%.
Right, and it's not an unreasonable thing to ask, Anne, in that
Right.
fact. And the thing is, at the end of the day, all it is to make sure that the working group can actually get some work done. Because in actual fact, don't forget, as councillors, we normally make decisions, and clerks and solicitors and land agents do. So we can't ring up solicitors and ask them to do something. We're not empowered to do that. We can only make decisions as working groups, get it confirmed by the council, and then the boss here.
And
gets
also,
it done.
and also it will need a variation to the lease, that's why we need
Yeah,
a solicitor.
So, and they know all the legal stuff. I don't. And certainly people around this room, I don't think everybody knows as much as they'd like to know, I'm afraid. So that was proposed by Martin, seconded by somebody. Sally Ann, thank you, Sally Ann. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8, 9, because I can see your pencil in the air. Abstaining? 1 abstention. Right. 8 is definitely closed off now. Unless there's anything else on. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Anybody from Rutland House Community Trust or residents? If you want to now leave, please do so.
If you want to stay, feel free.
This is where we've the working group. The first one round, nice, isn't it? But the thing is, we've now agreed to the bill. That's the main thing. All right. So they've agreed to the bill. The next thing is